Okay, so this is the Blackmagic Cinema 4K camera. It has a EF mount, so Canon lenses on this. It records onto solid-state drives. So these are super fast. It needs to be super fast because this records very high resolutions and raw footage. So and it needs fast media, but it also helps us in post. We can transfer this media really fast as well. So that goes in there. On the right side, we have headphones, 2 1/4-inch inputs, which is really nice. We get balanced audio, SDI out if we had an external recorder or monitor, and some power options. It's really easy to mount any monitors and things up here as well. We also have an external battery for this, the mount that will add another 1.5 hours of battery life to it. We have an internal battery right now, it's at 75%. So the main advantage of using this camera over our others is it records 4K, it's full frame, or not quite full frame, it's Super 35 sensor. So I'm going to be able to get wider shots with lenses on this versus, say, a GH4. It also records in RAW and ProRes formats. So you can click over to RAW. In RAW, it only does 4K. So it's just recording the whole thing, the whole frame. There's no options there. RAW is basically recording our light onto the sensor completely non-processed. So the camera that's being recorded on, this Canon or digital SLR or GH4, almost all cameras have a processor that's taking that information, that light information, and is saving it in a format that's highly compressed, and it's just telling you this pixel equals this value equals this color. This is taking all that information it's getting onto the sensor and it's just saving it completely untouched, which basically means things like ISO and white balance we can adjust in post. So it's very forgiving for our lighting situation. We do want to do our best while we're there, but that potentially could save time by not having to dial in as much, but also it's going to fix mistakes that we made later. We forgot the white balance, so we forgot to stop down the ISO. We can fix that in post. It has 12 dynamic range, so that's 12 stops of sensitivity. So it's way more sensitive to light than any of our other cameras. If you don't want to record in RAW, ProRes, all the flavors of ProRes, HQ422 and LT and Proxy, they're extremely high quality formats that are edit ready. So I can just immediately drop these in to Premiere or DaVinci, whatever I use, without having transcode, because they're very edit friendly. ProRes is awesome delivery and edit format. I have 1080 and 4K HD options for resolution. Dynamic range, just 2 options. It's video and film. Video is within the specs for TV, so 709, and the new one is 2020, and that's just with the color range that most of our televisions can handle, and computer screens, etc. It would be better to shoot in film. There's just more range, some more color possibilities. Set our frame rate to 24, 30, or 60, and then we have time-lapse options for taking a picture every minute, every second, or every other frame, for instance. All right, so just some other things in the menu. Got metadata, so I can save which scene, which shot, what day, what camera this is. This is made for production, so I have more information that I can save now. Makes it easier to organize later. Saves me time. The settings, again, camera ID, date, time. ISO and white balance don't matter as much if we're doing RAW, but still have to set them in here. And then our shutter angle is an angle versus fractions of a second. 180 is always half of every frame. So if we're shooting at 24, that is roughly a 50th of a second, basically. our sound menu. We have two lines in here, also a built-in microphone. Our record settings I just showed, and our display. So we have our zebras, our SDI out, and then our different guide options. So I can put what ratio we want to film at. So 4:3, 16:9, 2:35:1, and I can overlay that on my screen. You'll see there's the two black bars here for the letterbox. Let's take one last look in the settings. Record. And I want to set this to ProRes so that it's easier to handle. And I'm going to change it to HD. I'm going to keep it on film because I want more range, and keep it at 24 frames per second. And I'll get out of here. Don't have that many buttons on this guy, so focus just turns on peaking or on or off. See peaking there. So our focus tool. Iris sets the aperture automatically, but I don't have a chipped lens here. This is the aperture ring, and this is the focus ring. So I'll show you. This is just a manual lens, manual prime. So I have to adjust this myself, and I'm looking at my histograms. In order to avoid any clipping, I gotta have it at least there, if not open all the way. So I'll back off a little bit. Got a pretty shallow depth of field. So that also brings up our meters, audio, time, and histograms. And that's basically all the controls. These two buttons here will change the iris by one stop in each direction if you have a chipped lens. Of course, the play button will go back to the last clip that you've played, recorded. I don't have anything on here right now. And, record. The other main advantage of this camera, and I'll see if we can demonstrate this, and we can slow down and post and point it out, hopefully, is this has a global shutter. So when I pan, make quick movements, every frame of this 24 frames per second, it's taking a picture of all those pixels at one time. The digital SLR, so GH4, this Canon camcorder, actually every other camera we have in the cave currently, takes a picture from left to right, top to bottom. So when you do fast pans or out a car window or anything fast moving with the camera, you get a bit of a sway because the bottom pixels are not quite caught up to the top. Maybe we can pan here and we can see if in post if that lines up. So global shutter, that's just gonna have more of that cinema feel and none of that digital sway from camera movements. And that's the Blackmagic Cinema 4K camera. This is a camcorder option that we have here. There's a couple other ones that are all similar, varying degrees of resolution. This is a Panasonic 4K, and this is the UX90. The main reason to use this would be for documentary, and the reason for that is all of my controls for image and sound are at my fingertips and not buried in some menu. This is made for you to be able to adjust things on the fly and really quickly and easily. So as you can see, I have audio channels here, left, right channels, channel 1, channel 2, as well as inputs for them up here. So I can just put a shotgun mic right on the camera and go straight in. It's called an ENG camera, which means electronic news gathering. So made for documentary. This does 4K. The widest it will go is 28 or 24.5 millimeters, and it has a zoom lens, so I can get pretty far in So it's times 15. So I guess that's close to 300. The thing that's lacking with this, since it has a built-in zoom lens, is that kind of cinema short depth of field look. Although it does have a relatively short depth of field if I want it to, the optical quality is just not there that you would have on a digital SLR or the Blackmagic or the GH4. The screen's easy to use. It is touchscreen. It has built-in neutral density filters, so if I'm outside, I can just slide up, 1 stop, 2 stops, 3 stops, to knock down all the light evenly, get my exposure exactly right. I have a powered zoom, so if I ever want a slow zoom in or out, I can just use this rocker here, and there's another one on this side. All my autofocus, focus rings here too, zoom, focus, iris, and then, the rest of the buttons that we are used to on other cameras, white balance, shutter speed, etc. All right here, quick to get to. So if you know you're going to be shooting for a long time, where you can't fiddle with your menus as quickly, you need to just be moving, documenting everything. This is going to be way easier to use. So that is the camcorder Panasonic that we have.